Well, hello everybody. This video presentation relates to getting started with the program Ease 4.3, when using Windows 7. It's a bit different than XP, at least where the data is stored. Otherwise, the program looks about the same. So, first thing to do is maybe find out where is it stored, because you're going to have to go to this location. It's under Public Documents, and I have an icon here which gets us right there. But you probably don't have that. But you can get to it from Computer or My Computer and Documents and Public Documents here. And here is Ease 40 data. This is what we're looking for. And there's a bunch of stuff here. We're going to be concerned with two things here: Projects 40 and Global Materials. Projects 40 is where we're going to store our project when we get it made. There's a bunch of stuff here that you won't have on your in Projects 40 on the computer you're using. You'll have some of these guys over here, like theater and church and so forth. These are some model templates that could be used. But we'll make a project and give it a name, and it'll appear as a folder, just like this one says Coffeen Assembly Room 1. Yours is a meeting room, and here's like meeting room 520, noise reduction. Now that's a different thing. Anyhow, it's going to look like that, and we'll see that when we get there. And also, we're going to use Global Materials here. I'll click on it, and there's a folder called American Base. That just means it's in English. Let me just stop right here. If you're hearing a little background noise, it's because I'm in my lower level office at home. Some people call this the basement. And there is an air handler furnace here, and it turned on here a minute ago. And I don't want Joanne to be cold upstairs, so I'm going to let it run, even though it might add a little bit of noise to this recording. So I'll go to American Base, and under it you'll find a folder called Common Materials. When I click on this, I can see all of the materials that are available, which you have as a list in the information on the project. And I think you have a little decoding here for these shortcut names, like 2SA wall means 2-inch thick sound absorbing wall treatment, and GWB 1 times 5/8, 58 means gypsum wallboard, 1 layer, 5/8 inches thick. So we'll get there. We won't use it from here, but we'll see that we're going to use this. And so back a minute to this Projects 40 stuff right here. Let me just rid of that, and here's Projects 40. When you make a project, it's going to appear in a folder like this under Projects 40, and you're going to work on it here in this folder on the C drive of the computer and the Public Documents. Then when you're finished working on it, and maybe you're not finished, you can put it on your desktop and then put it back here when you're ready to proceed again from maybe some other computer in one of our labs, because Ease is on the computers in all the labs, Ease 4.3. And you should not work on it on the server. Get it off the server, put it on the C drive, and then work on it here. And when you're finished, you can take it with you, and I'll show you a couple of methods for doing that. But while we're right here, any project has a number of files. I'll just find one here. Maybe this is kind of like yours, called Meeting Room 10. And it'll have a number of files. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and an INI file here. The only thing you see is this one here where the ease icon is located, and it's called an FRD file. That's room data. And we could open up this project right from here. So since our database is the same on all of our computers, and my database is the same, we could simply take this meeting room 10 or whatever yours is called and take that folder, put it on your desktop, and then bring it back and you get all of these folders. The room data folder by itself will not do it. There's another way to pack it too, where the database goes with the project, and we'll talk about both of these methods later. Okay, so that's where it's under public documents, and we've learned that, and that's good. So we can just go back here. Here's our projects 40, and I think we're through looking and probably ready to go work on ease now. So I'm just going to close this, and I'm going to open up ease 4.3 here. Sometimes this takes a few minutes to open up, but this opened up really fast, and I'm going to maximize this so it covers the whole screen here. And I've hidden the taskbar down here so we can see the bottom of the screen easily. Now, we're going to need this taskbar, but I think this will help us to see everything and get it to full screen, so I'll go to the full screen. Okay, well, before we do anything, we need to know that F9 on the computer, F9, function key 9, is the options key. It brings up the option menu for whatever screen you have open in ease. This is the ease main screen, where it just says ease 4.3 up here at the top. So I'm going to do an F9 on my computer here, and that brings up this option screen. The username, whatever's on your computer, just leave it that way. Mine says Bob Coffeen, but yours could say anything, and it makes no difference anyway. And license to and user ID, this isn't important. There are a couple of things important here, and one of them is settings. And the settings tab, if we click it, we find that we can select either metric units or English units. Now we're going to do this project in feet and inches, English units. And if you are using a computer where no one has used ease before this semester, it'll probably be checked metric. And if you leave it that way, it's going to make some kind of strange model, all right, wrong size. So when you put in, you think you're putting in 1 foot, and you're going to be putting in a meter. So we want to go to English. Furthermore, if there's a check mark here under show animated message and play ease sound, you want to get rid of those. Playing ease sound drives you crazy, and animated messages just takes up some memory you don't need. And so you can leave instant help menu alone. The only other one that you have to worry about is default paths, and this all should be set right. Whenever you're working on a project, you want to go to that path where we find our ease 40 data. And that happens to be users, public, documents, ease 40 data, projects 40. So that's correct. And the same thing is true for the material base, users, public, documents, ease 40 data, global materials, and let's see, and we can see the rest of it here, and then common materials. We don't really care about the rest of it here, but we need to have these correct. You could look at them and see that they start out with public, documents, but they all should be set correctly. So when we get all that done, we'll just say OK. Now we're ready to do something, and we'll explore this just a little bit here so we can see how we're going to handle our project. First place, right from this screen, I can go to our main database, either from this icon or over here. Some people complain that this program looks like it was written for the first Windows or something, and parts of it were. But it's been updated many times since. The look of it hasn't changed a whole lot, but the program certainly has. So EASE 4.3 is a well advanced in relation to EASE 3 or 2. So, but if we want to just see the main database, we could click on this icon, and if we wanted to go to Materials, we could go to Edit Materials. And when we do, we get this list of all our materials again, and let's just see what one layer of chipboard looks like here. We can click on it, and let me put this on the screen. And here we have one layer 5/8 gypsum wallboard on studs, and here's the absorptive coefficients here. Here's our frequency, 125, 250, and so forth. It's actually in third octave band, so this would be 125, 160, 200, 250, and so forth. And if I wanted to see the coefficients, I can do this, and here are all the coefficients. Now the scattering coefficient is, we're going to leave alone at 0.1. You can see that chipboard has some absorption at the low frequencies, but not much at the high frequencies. Yep, we know that. Okay, so this just shows you how to get to this information. You really don't need it, but you can get to it this way. We can just close here, and we're going to go back here to start working. Now, we'll learn about these various icons here as we go along. But we'll make a very simple, easy, just a box or something project here, just to show how we get a project started. So I'm going to go to Create Project here. That's what we want to do. And when I do, I get all of these prototype models from which I can choose, but I seldom do that. They normally don't fit. Oh, I think I used this thing called Sporting Hall once for an arena and an outdoor stadium. Maybe it was this one here. And you can make these any size you like. You can make them your own project, but not too useful. We want to create an empty project here. In other words, we're starting from scratch, and so we'll create empty project. Now, here's where we're going to give the project a name. Notice that in my case, the hourglass, or the little ring around circle that you may have on your computer, stays open in this window. I don't know why, but it does. I'm going to call this thing Meeting Room 600. I just gave it a name. And down here under Project, I'm going to give it the same name, Meeting Room 600. Or we could make it Meeting Room 205, the class name. How about that? That's better yet. Let's do that. Let's call it Meeting Room. Let's get rid of that. Meeting Room 205. There we go. All right. So now we've given it a name. None of this stuff, you don't have to worry about it at all. And this allows us to change files that we may need later, but we're not going to fool with that right now. We're just going to say create. Bonk. It says the project path does not exist. Do you want to create it? Well, of course, that's why we're doing this. So we'll say OK. And now here we can proceed with this project. We can modify data, edit tables, check data, but, well, we don't have any data, but we're going to modify what we don't have. We're going to add some data. Box with the pliers pulling on one side of it. And so I'm going to click on this, and we should see down here the edit window. These Windows 7 opens up windows behind windows you're using. Drives you nuts. XP didn't do that, but you can go down here and find it. There it is, right there. Okay, the reason for turning off the taskbar is so we can see the bottom of the screen. Let's see if we can do that anyway. No, that's what we have to leave it off, because we're going to need all this stuff at the bottom of the screen here. All right. This shows us our coordinates. This is the x-axis, red. The y-axis is green, and the z-axis is blue. This is minus x on this side. This is minus y on this side, and of course minus z down. It makes sense. This direction. Well, we don't have anything here at the moment, and no scale. We're going to lay our room out along this minus y axis, and we'll just make a box or something here, kind of like we did in class, so that you can see this. Turns out that E's models consist of vertices, or intersections of, or points rather, intersections of lines, which form faces. And so all of this is add stuff over here, and here's this insert vertex, and we're going to put in a vertex somewhere. And I'm going to lay this out along the minus, I'm going to start on the minus side, on the x-axis here, and I'm just going to click someplace. Now, let's make a room that's 40 feet wide. I think I can remember I think that meeting room is 40 feet wide. So we want an x value here of minus 20 feet over there in that minus x direction, because the room is 40 feet wide. So we'd have 20 feet on the other side. And we'll put it we'll make our 0, 0, 0 point at the floor line, and at the front end wall of this room. So I'll make that 0, and I'll make the z-axis 0, and I'll just say OK. But I don't see anything here. Well, sometimes it's because these vertices are turned off. If it looked like that, they'd be off, and you can't see them. Now they're on. So I'm just going to go up here and get a full view. We just don't have it on the screen yet. This little globe here is full view. There we are. Here's my first vertice I added, gave it a number of P1. I really don't care. And this guy down here is P1 star. And it's just on the other side of the 0, 0, 0 point. And that was formed because Ease assumes that a room is symmetrical about this y-axis, specifically the minus y-axis. And we can make most of our meeting room that way. Not quite all of it, but we can make most of it that way. So, but in any event, just for this demo, I'm going to select this again, and I'm going to just duplicate this vertice 20 feet in the air. I think I had a 20-foot ceiling. So I'm just going to say duplicate, and I'll just go up 20 feet here in the z direction. Say OK, and OK, and here's the one over here on the plus x side. I'll do this. There's all of them right there. 4 vertices. Now to make a face here, I'm going to go over here. This is where we add stuff in. And here's insert face. And I get my face insertion tool. And if I want to look at the inside of this face, that is, I'm in the room looking at the face, I'm going to make it in a clockwise direction. I'll click there, go up to here. This little red line shows me where I'm going. Come over to here. But when I get to there, I'm going to pull it away. Oh, it said, oh, this is the only place now from this point to the point down at the floor line that we can possibly go because the room's symmetrical, so it made that for us. And I'll take it over there and click there, very carefully click on these points, and we'll say create face, yes. Okay. Now, right now you may be having trouble making this face because there's some other things not set up. And I'm just going to, we'll come back and pick a material for it in a minute, but there's a screen here, another option window here that we need to look at this point in time, because you may have had trouble even clicking on vertices depending on what computer you're using. And so I'm going to do an F9 here, and I get this particular option window. Well, there's some things to set here. Under view, we can either have our, you may not have these minus axes here. In fact, we don't have to render the system axes at all. I can just say don't do that and say apply, and they're gone. Or I can render them. This may be, in your case, 0 and some other number over here. And if I do that and say render system axes and apply, I don't show the negative side. You see, I'm only showing the positive side. Here's plus x down here, plus y plus c. I like to show both sides, but make one side shorter than the other. I make the negative side shorter. So our room was 60 feet deep. I might make it a little longer than that. Maybe I'll make it 65 feet. Minus 65. And 100 certainly okay in the other direction. Just say apply. And now we have our axes in both directions. And the y-axis probably doesn't even need to be that long. It can end in the middle of the room somewhere. We could make it 50 feet, minus 50. Doesn't matter. Say OK. Now, I'm going to do our F9 again and get that window back, because there's a couple of other things that we need to do. After we've adjusted this, if we go to pick, all of these boxes can remain checked, but down here, pick radius, how many pixels, how close do we have to get to a vertice to pick it? And 10 pixels works pretty well. So if it's 10, we leave it alone. Under editing, we don't worry about all this up here right now, but if your computer hasn't been used, this probably says step width 1 meter, 3.28 feet. Oh, well, that's ridiculous. We don't want to move any item that far. I like to make it 1/10 of a foot or 2/10 of a foot. 1/10 of a foot works. Insert area above ear height. This should be 3.94. That's 4 feet. We can assume it's 4 feet. And yours might say 1 meter. So we want to make it 4 feet. Now, 3.94 and 4 are really the same, because ease is a metric program. And if you enter feet, it converts it to meters and then back to feet. And so sometimes it misses it a little bit. So 394 and 4 are really the same. So it's okay. So let's see. If there's another one here. I don't know that there is. We want to leave all these colors alone. Under general, that's all right. Items is okay. View is all right. We've already been there. Panels, there's nothing there to do. Pick is okay. And editing is okay with that. Change to that. And, grid. We want to go to grid. And under grid here, snap to grid, which we're going to do. We may not show the grid, but we can snap the snap resolution. Yours might say 3.28 feet or meter. Well, I like this to be about 1/10 of a foot here, so I'd change to 1/10 of a foot because we're working in feet. So we want to change that. Once we've done that, got it all done, we can say okay. Now we're all right and ready to go on. I'm just going to complete this room, and we'll all of this is covered under the other video presentation called Building a Meeting Room. But I can show you a little more here. If I want to select this, I just click on it here. And it's called F1. I really don't care about that particularly at the moment anyway. And the material is an absorber here. And that's not true. The material is going to be gypsum board for that wall. And so I want to change the material. And when I have it in this form, and I do an F4, F4 is properties. F4 is properties. It says the face is an absorber. Here's what the face looks like, and the only reason for having this is to make sure it's a plane, because we can't have bent faces. And over here, we see that we have an absorber only. That's the only material. Sonic Soundsucker. But if I go to Browse here, I'll go to my database here, Common Materials, and I'm going to make a database. Well, this is covered, as I say, in the other presentation, but we'll add a couple materials. One would be gypsum wall board here, a layer times 5/8, and we could add it. Now it's part of our database. We're going to use some lay-in ceiling board, maybe for a ceiling here. There it is. We'll add it. Maybe we want a concrete floor or thin carpeted floor. It's called carpet thin, I believe, right here. And I'll add it. Now that's enough for right now. And all I have to do is say close. Then I can select chipboard for this wall and say OK. And now it has the properties of chipboard. That is, the model knows its sound absorbing capabilities, etc. Sound reflecting capabilities. We'll just say OK. And there are a lot of things we can do here when we click on this. Well, if we do a right mouse click, we can use this to form the rest of our model. We could extrude this face, I think, minus 60 feet in the Y direction and form the whole model all at one time. Minus 60 feet, just say, okay. Let's do a full view. There's our little box that we looked at in class. But the materials are going to be strange because this was chipboard. That means the face here, the ceiling is chipboard. It says so right down here, chipboard 1 times 5/8. Well, I want to change that to lay-in ceiling board, let's say. F2 will allow you to change materials. You can also go to properties to do it. And I'll change it to lay-in ceiling board, okay. And the floor is gypboard. And I'll do another F2 and change it to thin carpet. Okay? Now F6 is a save everything key, and we use it frequently. I'm going to do an F6 now and make sure that everything is saved. And looks like it has been saved. Brings up this this is our main ease file, and here is our file for our room. Now, there's one more file, one more thing we can look at here quickly, and we'll just save this. If I click outside the model anywhere with a right mouse click, I get this little menu that gives us room data. And if the room is open, that means that it's not an enclosed vessel. And this is how I work on my model. While I'm working on it, I leave it open. And it's symmetric at the moment. I'll leave that alone too. But I believe this room is actually closed, and if I took the check mark out of here and said apply, I want to know the volume. I'm going to recompute. Oh, it's 48,000 cubic feet. And the room reverberation time is shown here, and it's correct except that there's the Sabin equation and the Eyring equation. We're going to use the Sabin equation, although Ease uses Eyring as a default. I like Sabin better, and I'm going to do that. Put it Sabin, say recompute. Now I have it in the Sabin equation. It'll be a little higher and I think more realistic. This is one way to get the reverb time of this room here at mid frequencies, somewhere around 0.9 or something, 1.0. From there to there. It gives Ease is a third octave program, and it gives us all this data in 1/3 octaves. That's an octave divided into 3 parts, and that's okay. It works fine. So we'll just say okay, and there we are. Now let's say that you're through working on this for a while, and you want to go on and do other things, but come back and use it again. There's a couple of ways to do this. I'm going to do an F6 to start with, just to make sure we've saved everything, like that. And because all our databases are the same, we don't really have to pack it, but we can. We can use what's called a pack project. And this saves our materials so that if the database isn't the same on the next computer we use, or if we're going to send it to a client across the country, we might pack it. And this is also covered in the other video presentation, but I'll pack it here. Click on it twice, and hopefully it'll let me pack the room. And why? Oh, I know why it isn't, because there's something behind here. I'm going to just click up here anywhere, and it opens up this window which used to come up in front. Now it's behind. So I need to switch to, and when I do, it says, oh, this is meeting room 205 PPJ file. And it's going to put it in a folder. Here's our Project 40, our meeting room 205. It's going to make an archive folder and put it there. And we can just say save it. And we have, and I'm going to click up here again and get this switched to again. And here it says, create a packed file. Yes. Shall we minimize all the base files? That is, only transmit with this model the database materials that we're using. Or How about transmitting all of them that we have in our database? That's what I'm going to do. We don't care about cluster components. And we can either compress it or not. These are simple files. We really don't need to make a zip file out of it. We just say OK. And this says, here's what you did. We really don't care about that either. Now, that's one way to get at this. Also, every now and then, I just double-click here to save the project. So I've got this pack project, and we can go find it and put it on our desktop, for example. So we don't need to stay here any longer. I can close this. This is the edit window. I'll just close it. And we really don't need ease to be open either. And I can close it. Excellent. Now, I'm going to go to Public Documents and find this stuff. Here's Documents, Public Documents, Ease 40 Data, Projects 40, and I call this Meeting Room 205. There it is right there. If I open it up, here's my archive, and there is this list we don't care about, LST. Here's our PPJ file. Well, we could take that and stick it on our desktop someplace. I'll do that. We just take this guy and move him over here, copy him here. We can probably move him here because we don't want to leave it on the machine. Just move it here. There it is. This will get us right back to our project. But if we don't want to pack it, in this particular case, we could move this whole room 205 thing. Let's go back up here, and here we are over here. I could take that whole room 205, meeting room 205, maybe I put my name on it, and I can just put it over here too. Move it here. And it'll go away from here eventually. Oh no, this is crazy because this is 7. This stays here. I don't know if there's anything in it or not. No. Folder's unavailable. But it's here. Let's see what's in it. There's all our stuff right there. I could start out again now just by clicking on the FRD file. Here's I opened up Ease, go to Room Edit, Modify Data, and go down here and find the Edit window. There's my model. Okay, so I've got it. I also, let's close it here, and I'm going to close this too now. I'm going to go back here to our meeting room 205, and let's see, what I want to do here is go back to, let me go back to Documents and start this whole thing over again here. And here, and meeting room. Oh, I don't have a meeting room here, so I really want to work on it here. Or I can just open it up over here. I can put it back here or not. I really don't have to, because it's part of my computer and will wind up back over here if I save it. So, but I could do that. Let's see, I can just take this guy and I can put him over here and copy him here. There it is. That's back where we started. If I don't have this open, this is my pack project here, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, PPJ. I can just open it up. And again, it's going to have something in the background here. I need to go to the switch to, and it says You want me to install this? We'll put it in the usual place here. Say, okay. Now I'm back working on it in its correct place on the C drive. I can go to Room Edit, Modify Data, and go down here and find the edit window, and there's my model. Well, this should get you started anyhow. And if you have problems, let me know. Take a look at the other video, please. One that has to do with, I'm just going to close this, and I'm going to go back here and get this window and close it, and I'm finished. I won't leave these on my computer here, but this should do it, and should get you started. So that's about it, guys, and continue with the other presentation as well in order to make the meeting room. See you later.